What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your Sunday so far. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm going to talk about what the Giants' strategy should be going into the NFL draft on April 27th through April 29th. Now, we know the moves that the New York Giants have made so far this offseason, whether it be Bobby Okereke at linebacker, Raheem Nunez-Roches on the defensive line, wide receivers Jamison Crowder, Jeff Smith, and Paris Campbell, whether it be cornerback Amani Oruwariye, tight end Tommy Sweeney, the re-signing of wide receivers Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Isaiah Hodgins, the re-signing of defensive lineman Jihad Ward, linebacker Jarrad Davis, and the Giants signing cornerback Leonard Johnson. Now, the Giants have done a lot of patchwork on one-year deals with a lot of these wide receivers in the cornerback position. Plus, they have a bunch of players who are coming off serious injuries, albeit the Robinson boys, Aaron Robinson at cornerback and Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver. Both of them are coming off ACL injuries. Then you have the linebacker position. Darian Beavers coming off an injury as well. And you also have Michael McFadden being rotated in and out of the linebacker position. But the question is, what are the Giants looking to do going into the draft? What is their position of a need going and attacking into the draft? Like, what would Joe Schoen's plan be? What is his plan? Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to be saying, well, we need a center. We need a center. We need interior offensive line help. And you're not wrong. We absolutely 100% definitely do need some offensive line help going into the NFL draft. But at the same time, there are still other positions of need on this team that need to be looked at and need to be talked about going into the NFL season. So, my top priorities for the New York Giants, if I was the general manager, for me, I'm honestly looking at best player available, but with an idea of possibly either looking to trade back or if there's a player that is at that position that happens to fall during the NFL draft that might have been rated higher on your board and he eventually fell a little bit closer to your area around 25. Maybe you think about trading up and getting him. For me, I'm looking at cornerback because I don't trust a lot of these cornerbacks we brought in. Oruwariye has got talent, but he's coming off a down season in Detroit, 27 years old. Leonard Johnson is a kid we picked up who was injured last year because he tore his ACL. He's coming in now, and we're picking him up and putting him on a 3-year undrafted rookie deal. We don't know what he really is. Aaron Robinson's coming off a serious knee injury. Cordero Flott, what is he? I mean, he's coming off a very up and down rookie season with injuries. Darnay Holmes has been up and down in the slot, mostly down than up. Rodarius Williams is more of a depth player. Zion Gilbert, more of a depth player. You have Nick McLeod, depth player. And a lot of these guys could potentially only be here for 1 year. So I know the organization doesn't want to give up on some of these players, but at the same time, there's no long-term solution. Even Adoree Jackson, the Giants' top cornerback, is still no guarantee. And you have to wonder, what is the long-term solution with the New York Giants going into the 2024 season after this coming season? That's why cornerback needs to be top the list. Then you look at the wide receiver core. Sure, they brought in Jeff Smith, Paris Campbell, and Jamison Crowder, as well as they've re-signed Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Isaiah Hodgins, and you have holdovers Colin Johnson and Wan'Dale Robinson, whom they drafted in the second round last year out of Kentucky. But at the same time, Paris Campbell's only signed to 1 year. Sterling Shepard signed to 1 year. Jamison Crowder signed to 1 year. Isaiah Hodgins 1 year. Colin Johnson 1 year. Wan'Dale Robinson's coming off a serious knee injury. A lot of these guys are one-year projects. You really don't have long-term answers on this football team. Even Darius Slayton, if he has a bad year or gets hurt, you can always get out of his contract. There's no long-term solution on this team, so wide receiver has definitely got to be towards the top of the New York Giants' needs going into the NFL draft. And then obviously you got to look at the interior offensive line. I know the Giants are very high on both Joshua Ezeudu, whom they picked in the 3rd round of this past NFL draft, and Marcus McKethan, who they picked in the 5th round. McKethan is coming off a season-long injury where he tore his ACL during the preseason, or during the scrimmage that was going on during FanFest for the New York Giants all the way back in August. And Joshua Ezeudu, while he was very solid in run blocking, he was ineffective in pass blocking and missed the rest of the season with a neck injury. Both these guys, while the organization is very high on them, and the organization would like to see both these guys be contributors going into the season, it's very hard to just 100% pencil them in and rely on both these guys to be healthy and effective. So those guys are question marks. Ben Bredesen, he did a solid job at left guard, but he also got hurt. Maybe transition to center. The organization still likes Lemieux, but he's going into the last year of his rookie deal, and he's coming off 2 straight years being injured pretty much the entire season. Matt Peart, same thing. Injury-prone player on the tackle position. Evan Neal is coming off a very rough season. Injuries and ineffective play at right tackle. The only real guy that has been really effective is the left tackle, Andrew Thomas, who was healthy all season, and he played to a second-team All-Pro level. And also, Nick Gates and John Feliciano, 2 of the Giants players they had at center, they both departed in free agency. Feliciano went to Washington, and John Feliciano went to San Francisco. So Giants need to look at the offensive line, and that's why interior offensive line is definitely going to be a position that the Giants are going to look at going into the NFL draft. So you got to make sure, and the team is going to look out for some potential interior offensive line guys that they're going to be targeting going into this upcoming NFL draft. Guys like John Michael Schmidt, guys like Osiris Torrance, Jared Patterson, just to name a few. Luke Weipler, Ricky Stromberg, plenty of guys at the center position that the Giants are going to have interest in, and it's not necessarily have to draft in the 1st round, but they're going to get at least a very young, good center coming out of this NFL draft to add to the mix and develop going into this upcoming season. You have to wonder if they're drafting somebody to become the center immediately, or if they're going to be drafting somebody that's going to develop for about a year, and then you get them ready for 2024, and that's when you unleash them part of the team. And then you look at the linebacker position. You signed Okereke. He's going to be one of your starting linebackers, assuming we go for a 3-4 defense. Then you also have who they resigned, Gerard Davis. And then you have your 4th round pick in Micah McFadden out of Indiana, who played solid. He played up and down. He was solid. The only rookie on this whole entire team that played every single game of the season. And then you have Darian Beavers, who missed the entire rookie year with a torn ACL in training camp. The linebacker position could still use another upgrade and another piece of that team. So I really believe that linebacker is still also another option, and I would even add another edge. I know they think Ellison Smith could develop into a good situational pass rusher, but he's been injured 2 seasons in a row. You bring back Jahad Ward, but he's more of a run stopper than he is a pass rusher. Azeez Ojulari only played about 5 games last year. Multiple injuries for him. It was a very rough season for Azeez. And Kayvon Thibodeau, he dealt with some injuries as well, and he needs to continue to develop after being selected number 5 overall in last year's NFL draft. For me, best player available is always the number 1 thing you want to go for into the NFL draft. But for me, my position I would like to see this team target is the cornerback position or interior offensive line. I think there's solid depth at wide receiver that you can wait until at least the 2nd to 4th round to get yourself a prime wide receiver in a very deep draft that's going to see guys like Cedric Tillman, Rashee Rice, A.T. Perry, Dante Demos, Raheem Jarrett, P.J. Washington, Jonathan Mingo, Xavier Hutchinson, Andre Isilviovis. Bunch of prospects right there. And then you look at the offensive line group, like I mentioned. Jared Patterson and Ricky Stromberg, John Michael Schmidt. All these guys can be had in the 2nd to 4th round. Cornerback, I think, is as bigger position of need than the Giants fans might want to think. Like I said, a lot of these guys are people think we're a little bit better at cornerback. We're not. Leonard Johnson has not proven his thing in the NFL. Aaron Robinson has been hurt more than he's played in his 2 years in the NFL. Darnay Holmes has been largely ineffective. Cordero Flott, we don't know if he's an outside corner or a slot guy. Rodarius Williams also been hurt, and he was in the doghouse last year. And Adoree Jackson, as much as we like Adoree Jackson, he's been hurt for both years, and he missed a chunk of last year. And then Amani Oruwariye, he's really more of a backup, could potentially compete for a starting position, but I think the cornerback position is a lot more important than people think. And even wide receiver, which I do believe wide receiver is a need, I still think that the Giants can do better targeting that wide receiver position in the mid-rounds with the depth at the position, unless they really feel strongly about a Zay Flowers, a Jackson Smith-Njigba, a Jordan Addison, a Quentin Johnson. If any of these guys fall towards 25, Giants might feel strongly about those guys, and maybe you draft them, but I don't think it's as urgent of a need because of the depth at that position. There might not be any great players coming out of this draft at wide receiver, but there's a lot of good quality players coming out in this NFL draft. So we'll have to wait and see what the New York Giants are going to decide to do going into the NFL draft, starting on April 27th all the way through April 29th. First round, April 27th, 2nd and 3rd round, April 28th, 4th through 7th rounds, April 29th, and you have undrafted free agency right after the NFL draft concludes, which will be around 5 p.m. or so on April 29th. But you guys let me know in the comment section, what positional need do you think that the Giants should be looking at or targeting going into this NFL draft? What players that you have your eye on going into this NFL draft? And what do you think is going to be the strategy through free agency and what we've seen the New York Giants do so far? What is their strategy going into this NFL draft? What position you think they're targeting? You think they might be going best player available? Is there any specific player or players that they're interested in potentially seeing if they drop to 25, or if we get to the middle rounds, the Giants might trade up, Giants might trade down? You guys let me know in the comment section what you think. And always, hit that like button if you haven't already, and please give a sub to NYG Jeffy T85, where I'll bring you more news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Giants. And as always, please turn on that bell for notifications of the next video or short that will be dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Giants. I say thank you very much, everybody. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take it easy, and let's go New York Football Giants as always. Together Blue, everyone.